Heyo! Today I'm at Pendleton Heights. It's one of our new locations for Split Log Coffee. Check out how beautiful this place is. It's amazing, isn't it? All right, I just ripped off Peter McKinnon, didn't I? Well, I love his videos. He's a great filmmaker, probably better than I am, but I can guarantee you I'm better at latte art, and that's what we're gonna be talking about today. We're going to be talking about developing advanced patterns, which is something that I've had experience doing when I was in World Latte Art Championship back in 2015. The first World Latte Art Championship I went into really with just what's the best pour that I can do. But in 2015, coming back around, I really started to think about it in different terms. So I started to try and gain inspiration from the world around me, and then apply that to the pours that I was doing. And so today I want to talk about that process of developing those patterns in the latte art. All right, so step one, you need to get inspired. You really want to have an idea of what it is that you're trying to get to with your pour. So look for images in the world around you, look for images online, wherever you need to go. And then once you have an idea of what you're aimed at, then you want to start to pare it down to its simplest form. Take out all the unnecessary details and get it to just lines and circles if you must. And then from there we can start designing that pattern. But this is an important first step because when we practice latte art, we need to practice with purpose, because if we're just pouring random patterns, we're really not getting anywhere. So we want to develop this idea as fully as possible before we ever start to approach the machine. So once you have that idea, the next step will be to write it out, get it on paper. And this will be important for a number of reasons. One, it'll really start to show you if the pattern will come out using latte art, if you can draw it into foam in a cup. Using paper instead of espresso and milk, it's just gonna be a lot cheaper. Not only that, once you have it down, it's going to be more permanent. And so you can actually study that. And even from there, you can start to write out kind of an order of operations. Which element are you going to pour first? And then from there, what are you going to do? Once you have it down on paper and you've got a pattern that you feel like you can put into the cup, it's now time to move on to the next step. So once we have the pattern down on paper and we've got a good kind of idea of the order of operations on how we're going to add in each element of the design, we want to start practicing it. And to save espresso and milk, one of the best ways to get started on that is to pour using just water. And not only will this save on espresso and milk, but it'll allow you to practice a lot more often, because you don't have to be in a cafe where you can use the espresso machine to make these pours. It takes a little bit of imagination, but what it'll do is it'll actually help you develop the muscle memory of the tilts and turns that you're going to be utilizing when you're making these pours. And then when it comes time to actually practice, you'll be more prepared for that. So now it's time to actually start practicing and working towards your pattern. What you want to do is start to break down each element within the pattern and start to practice that individually. If there's rosettas, if there's a number of rosettas within the pattern, if there's lines that need to be drawn in, if there is tulips or hearts that need to be added, start with breaking those down individually so that you don't have to add in all of the turns and you don't have to combine them all together. You can just focus on one thing at a time until you can get that down in whatever cup that you're going to be pouring. So we're going to do that using my recommendation of pouring into smaller cups. We're going to start with 6-ounce cups. We're going to pull a single shot or a double shot, and we're going to split it between those 2 cups. And I'm also going to use milk sharing. And this is going to be a way for me to pour more cups of coffee in less time. And you're also going to be able to texturize your milk better when you have more milk in your pitcher. You're actually going to get a better texture and viscosity in the milk foam because you have more time as it heats up to reincorporate that foam back into the milk. We're gonna be using 2 cups. These are gonna be 6-ounce cups. So I wanna use exactly the right amount of milk. In this case, I'm gonna need about 9.5 to 10 ounces of milk. I'm gonna use a 20-ounce pitcher to steam in, and then I'm actually going to preheat a 12-ounce pitcher that I will split my milk into and pour out of. All right, here we go. So we're gonna pull that shot, and while it's pulling, I'm gonna steam the milk. For my milk sharing, I'm gonna start with all the milk in the 20-ounce pitcher, and I'm gonna transfer about 75% of it into the 12-ounce. And then from there, I'm gonna split 25% of the milk back into the cup. So I've got half and half now, half in here, half in the other pitcher. All right, and then we're gonna begin pouring. And for these types of patterns, you kind of wanna slow down the pour slightly. Really incorporate the foam and the espresso together. That's down here. And very quickly, we're gonna move to the next cup. Because we don't wanna give our foam too much time to separate from the milk. So what you're looking for as you develop these patterns is a mastery of them. And so you're wanting to be able to be repeatable. You're wanting to see identical shapes in each of these as you go. And so with these lattes, you can see with the rosettas that I've added to them, I was only able to add 3. I could probably fit a few more in there, but you're seeing a good kind of standard definition of this, like a repeatable object. And so being able to do that is gonna be critical, and just focusing on one aspect of the design at a time will help you kind of master that element so that you can repeat it over and over. Once we have those down, then we're gonna move on to the next phase, which is gonna be starting to combine it all together so that we can start pouring our pattern. Okay, so once we've mastered all of the elements that are gonna go into our pour, it's now time to start putting it together and start practicing this pour. And the idea is not to practice until you can get it right. The idea is to practice until you can't get it wrong. That is to say, if you were to serve something in the cafe setting with your amazing pour, but it's a little sloppy, it's not perfectly clean, that could be seen as a reflection of the cafe's lack of quality control. So even in a cafe setting, you want to be prepared to pour that latte art pattern. So especially in competition, when you're under pressure, when you're on the clock, you're kind of under the judge's scrutiny, all of those things are actually going to make it even more difficult to pour these patterns. So you want to do yourself a favor by being prepared.
I'm feeling impatient.
Okay, I hope you guys found that helpful. Let me know, what patterns are you guys pouring right now? You can just comment below or connect with me on Instagram. I try to post a pour a day at least on my stories, and that's a great way for me to see what you're doing and share with you some of what's going on in the cafe here in Kansas City. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see what you're working on. I'd love to help you if I can. As always, thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a blessed day, and I will see you later. Cheers, guys.
What the heck?
What even is that? Oh, that's our espresso machine filling. It's fine.
Please hold for the espresso machine.
Pardon me.
Pardon me.
Excuse me, sir.
It's so funny because there's so many random noises
I know that.
I don't ever notice.
Ever.
And then now that I'm filming, like, what is that?
No, I've
And where?
never heard that before.
I've never heard that.
Interesting.
I'm still rolling.